Mary Alice, the New York Times is now reporting that some major Democratic donors have put roughly $90 million in pledged donations on hold if President Biden remains on top of the ticket. What more can you tell us about that?
And this is really interesting. We don't have this reporting yet. This is according to the New York Times, but this would be hugely significant. I mean, in a campaign, you follow the money, always. And while donors obviously don't get a vote, they can change a lot of votes. And especially because the White House, the campaign, has sort of told us since that debate, since that disastrous debate performance by the president, they've told us they fundamentally believe that they can still sort of organize their way to victory, that they have ground games, they have volunteers, they have campaign offices in these key battleground states. If the money dries up, it makes it significantly harder to do that organizing work. And so it puts even more pressure then on those public performances, on the national narrative, on those headlines. So I think that it's hugely significant if the New York Times has that right. We've reached out to sources. I've reached out to sources at the party and at the campaign to see if that's true or if they're reacting to that. But obviously, we've been in touch with donors these last few days and few weeks, and we've heard a lot of anxiety, but that would be really big news.
Now, President Biden said Vice President Harris is up for the job, but that he wouldn't consider leaving the race unless polls show there's no chance he could win. What did you make of that? Is he leaving the door open here at all? And is it definitely Vice President Harris if he were to step away?
I think yes to that last part, absolutely. What I've heard from so many people across the Democratic Party at the state level here in Washington is that the cleanest, easiest solution if he were to step away would be to just tell all of his delegates that he supports the vice president. And that a lot of people sort of believe the party would get on board with that. And we've even heard that from a few members of Congress. Look, it was interesting to me to watch the president kind of walk a fine line here. On the one hand, he has to show absolute and total confidence in his vice president. We know that anything could happen to a president on any given day, especially, obviously, to an 81-year-old. We've been talking so much about his age and his health, but even to a younger president. I mean, that is why you have to have total faith and confidence in your vice president. They are a heartbeat away, and you have to know that they could do the job. And we heard the president say yesterday repeatedly that he has total faith in his vice president, that he believes she could do the job. That said, there's obviously been such speculation about whether he would step aside, especially if she might fare better in a head-to-head matchup against Trump. And there we saw him really push back. He said no, he wasn't considering it. He continues to think that he is the best person. He's beat Trump before. He thinks he will do it again. It was very interesting to me, that line that he said about at the very end of the press conference. He said unless he was presented essentially with information, with data to show that he could not beat Trump, that somehow might change his mind. It's interesting, that seems to be a shift, like you said, a little bit of an opening, a different calculus. It's also interesting because we see that data. We have seen a lot of polling that shows he has just such a tough road ahead. We've heard from Democratic sources that are doing their own polling in key battleground states that say that the polls are so tough for him in those key battleground states. So interesting to see and to sort of wonder what information is getting all the way to him, Diane.
Interesting indeed. Mary Alice Parks at the White House for us. Thank you.